is there any question or comments for Ambassador Hussein? Xin quý vị nào mà không nói được tiếng Anh đấy thì có thể nói bằng tiếng Việt và chúng tôi dịch vắn tắt lại cho ông đại sứ lưu động Rashad Hussein. So while waiting for questions, I would like to reiterate another comments by Pastor Ralan Ngolo in the previous panel, and he thinks that it's very important for the different diplomatic missions in Vietnam as well as the UN agencies to have a more frequent and, if possible, permanent presence in the Central Highlands. That's the only good way to truly monitor the conditions in Vietnam. I know that it might not be practical, but I have noticed that there have been more frequent visits by different diplomats, such as the British ambassador just visited Central Highlands 2 weeks ago, and the Consul General of Germany also visited the Central Highlands just 2 days ago. So we hope that the US government will coordinate with friends of FORB in Vietnam, the group of embassies who pay attention to religious freedom issues in Vietnam, to make more frequent visits to the Central Highlands.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. In fact, I spoke to our ambassador precisely along those lines about the importance of not just being in the capital, but as the embassy has done over the years, make their presence felt around the country, to ensure that we have visibility on what's happening all over. And that's something that the ambassador agreed with. And so I think that you're going to see that we'll have a substantial presence, at the very least, in visiting those places to make sure that we have an understanding of what's going on, and that we send the signal that we are very aware of the situation throughout the country.
Yes, we have Miss Habiab Krong, a refugee, a Montagnard refugee in Thailand. Miss Krong, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Tang. And hello, ambassadors. I have a question for you. Do you think that it's possible to give a training or provide knowledge about freedom of religious to the officials in Vietnam, or specifically the police officer who based in the local at the locality in the Central Highland where the Montagnard people residing? Because many Christians in the Montagnard community face caused by the police and the officials. They always take the reason that because this group involved in reactionary activism is not because that they practice their religious rituals. That was the reason that always bring up when they want to persecute a group of a house church in the Central Highlands. So my question is that you think that some embassies from different countries based in Vietnam can actually provide a training and for the official and the police itself?
Thank you so much. That's another great recommendation. You know, my own background prior to coming to the to the State Department, and in between the time I was last here, I was working at the Justice Department, and we actually have an initiative through the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security, which is provides a workshop for inclusive government, and part of that includes training of law enforcement and other government officials to address some of the issues that you mentioned. And so I think it would be worth it for me to go back to our team and to see what might be possible in Vietnam, in addition to some of the regular types of engagement and training that we do through our diplomatic staff there, to raise awareness of the importance of the types of issues that you mentioned. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Pastor Hussein, may I add one more thing to that excellent idea? That is to use some real cases as case studies for those training, and point out to them, hey, this is clearly a violation, and see how they would react, how the government would respond to that by resolving the case satisfactorily.
Yeah, no, it is part of our practice, and I'm a very big believer in raising individual cases, both here in the United States with the ambassadors that are located here, because they typically send that information back to their home capitals, and so it's clear that we're following those cases. But of course, also raising them, through our embassy. And I think that you're right, that if we, in addition to raising those cases, are very clear about what we think went wrong in those cases, and what types of process could be applied to ensure that those types of injustices aren't occurring in the future, then it would help us serve the interests of not just that particular case, but in preventing similar injustices going forward.
Thank you. And while waiting for maybe one more question, I'd like to bring up to your attention two troubling trends that we have observed recently, not only in the Central Highlands of Vietnam, but across the country. One is that there's an increase of state-supported or even state-run propaganda advocating for hatred and violence against religious and lay leaders throughout Vietnam with impunity. And there has been an increase in physical violence against some of the leaders and key members of different religious communities in recent time, including the death of a Catholic priest less than 2 months ago in Kon Tum province. So that is very concerning. Secondly, there's an increasing attempt by authorities to silence people who report violations of freedom of religion. So maybe they expect that without those reports, the entire world might perceive that things have changed for the better inside Vietnam. Without those reports, it would be impossible practically for the US government or the UN agencies to monitor what's truly going on inside Vietnam. So those are two very troubling trends I'd like to bring to your attention, Mr. Ambassador.
Yeah, indeed, they are troubling, and we have heard some of those reports. And thank you so much for continuing to bring to our attention. It'll be critical for us to stay in communication to make sure that we're understanding the situation on the ground. And I can assure you that we will do as we are required by law, by Congress, to shed light on those cases and the reports of those cases as most accurately as we possibly can in our reports. And again, we appreciate your partnership, and we admire the bravery of those that are coming forward. And we know it's not easy, and oftentimes they face consequences for doing so. So we always want to acknowledge the sacrifices that they are making in the name of protecting the freedom of all people of Vietnam.
Thank you. I saw that Dr. Chong Phan attempting to speak. So this will be the last question or comment. Dr. Chong Phan.
Thank you, Dr. Thắng, and thank you, Ambassador Hussein, and thank you for your dedication and your time to the freedom of religion in Vietnam. Sir, I thought that you have heard a very savage murder of one of the Catholic priests in Kon Tum. And this murder will be investigated by our team, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a report for your department. But we suspect that the motive behind this could cause from a hate speech activities sponsored by the government of Vietnam. I wonder if your department will do something about this, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for highlighting that case. And our team is on it, and we'll continue to go through all the information carefully, as we have with so many other cases. And depending on all the information that we receive and process, obviously it sounds like a very heinous case. We will continue to document those and to raise them with the government of Vietnam, and continue to talk to you and your team to make sure that we have the latest information.
Again, thank you, Ambassador Hussein, for your time. And I'd like to also send my best regards to all your staff. You have a great team there. Thank you. And we look forward to working closely with you and your staff. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. It was great to be with you. Thank you again for all the work that you're doing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Vâng, bây giờ chúng tôi xin mời cái vị diễn giả kế tiếp của buổi hội luận ngày hôm nay. Liền sau khi mà cái vị ấy đặt câu hỏi cho ông Hussein, đại sứ Hussein, đó là tiến sĩ Phan Quang Trọng. Tiến sĩ Phan Quang Trọng là sinh ra và lớn lên ở tại miền Nam Việt Nam, và đã vượt biên sang Singapore năm 79 và đã đến định cư tại Hoa Kỳ năm 1980. Ông là một trong những nhà hoạt động cộng đồng lâu năm, và cũng là cái người đã yểm trợ cho chính phủ Hoa Kỳ rất nhiều bằng qua cái kinh nghiệm và cái tài năng của mình trong lĩnh vực kỹ thuật, đã hỗ trợ cho quân đội Hoa Kỳ trong cái vai trò là một trong những người lãnh đạo về kỹ thuật của một căn cứ không quân Hoa Kỳ ở tại Texas. Ông cũng là một người đã sinh hoạt rất nhiều năm với lại phong trào giới trẻ Công giáo, và cũng là một lãnh đạo trong cộng đồng. Hiện nay ông đang là chủ tịch quản trị của cộng đồng người Việt quốc gia Hoa Kỳ, và tiến sĩ Phan Quang Trọng cũng đã từng là thành viên của hội đồng quản trị của BPSOS. Chúng tôi xin mời tiến sĩ Phan Quang Trọng.
Vâng, xin cảm ơn anh Nguyễn Đình Thắng, và xin quý vị cho phép chúng tôi được trình bày cái ý kiến của chúng tôi bằng Anh ngữ, tại vì chúng tôi thấy là có rất nhiều bạn hữu người Mỹ có mặt trong buổi hội luận ngày hôm nay. Dear Dr. Thắng and dear Ambassador Rasha Hussain, honored guests and attendees. In the last three panels, we have opportunity to listen directly from the persecuted Montagnard victims and religious leaders that we long been subjected to harsh treatment by the government of Vietnam for a number of reasons, including I observed that the authority prejudice against ethnic minority due to lack of respect and understanding, their distrust of Christian beliefs, their hostility toward our past association with the American war effort in Indochina. And after 1980, the government forced migration of northern ethnic group to the highland, add more complexity to the situation. However, we think the hatred toward Montagnard Christian are often originated from the hate speech activities that fuel the tension and consequently cause a discrimination. Recently, we see that online hate speech have become more pervasive due to the easy access of online providers and the increase in technology availabilities. And ladies and gentlemen, the hate speech doesn't directly cause physical pain, but its mental impact on the perpetrators and on the victims is very, very powerful. Hate speech degrades the victim's sense of values derived from their faith. Hate speech, in many cases, drives its perpetrator to execute unjust action toward religious victims without remorse. And these perpetrators' involvement can range from participating in hate speech activity to physically assaulting victims. In Highland, Vietnam, many pastors and priests are assaulted by security forces disguised as civilians or by their high men. And the most recent case that I raised questioning with the ambassador, a case happened to a Catholic priest named Joseph Trần Ngọc Thanh. Father Thanh was savagely killed in January of this year when delivering his reconciliation sacrament. A sacrament, ladies and gentlemen. His death encouraged a group of Vietnamese Americans like us to form an organization we call Advocates for Faith and Justice in Vietnam, or AFJV in an acronym. Our goal is to warn the world that inciting hatred as a cause of violence against religion, and we will advocate internationally for justice for victims in Vietnam. And I would like to elaborate on the strategy that our team used to combat hate speech directly directed at religious communities, particularly to our Catholic faith. Those are the ideas that our efforts have done and will do in the future. And our strategy anchors in the principle established by the United Nations human rights policies. This principle, when applied to Montagnard Christians, should include respect for all ethnicity and their faith. We should accept diversity as our rich qualities, not our disadvantages. We should promote dialogue for understanding and tolerance, and we should support for solidarity among all ethnicities. And solidarities mean when one of us is attacked, all will be impacted, and all of us will stand together with unity in response to attacks. And for today, I would like to focus on two strategies the AFJV team has done and will focus on in 2022 and beyond. First of all, we would learn to engage the international community. We should take advantage of the assistance we receive from them. Like the ambassador mentioned, we should understand each relevant international organization mission, their structure, their communication channel, their local point of contact in Vietnam. We have to take initiative to meet with their representatives and increase their knowledge of our people, our culture, our faith, even our geography. And we have to help these international organizations to recognize and put us on their mapping effort of our religious sites, which include in establishing a lines of communication in case of emergency. We have to cooperate with these international organizations that aim at fostering dialogue based on fundamental rights and values. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone. U.S. Department of State, Dr. Thắng, and Bold People SOS have contributed to the creation of the Friends of FORB, which include more than 10 embassies to promote freedom of religion and monitor any violation in religions in Vietnam. The AFJV team participate in forums like IRF Roundtable, Save the Persecuted Christian, and many other organizations that share our values. And we have created a video to summarize the incident that we mentioned earlier about Father Thắng. And we use social media capabilities as our launching pad to spread the news. We currently work on a fact-finding report regarding Father Thắng murder, and our recipients are the United Nations for Human Rights, the US State Department, and all the friends we have out there. We also plan to attend international religious conference like the IRF Summit this year in late June in Washington, D.C., because we believe this international event attracts thousands of religious leaders around the world, provide a powerful platform for advocacy efforts like us. Secondly, we need to learn in dealing with hate speech, which is the main concern of us. We will learn monitoring and analyzing hate speech. We need to understand the root causes, the driver, the actors of hate speech. We convening all relevant actors. We engage with new and traditional media. We use education as a tool for addressing and countering hate speech. And we leveraging partnership, like I mentioned earlier. The action might include developing an effective intervention, ensuring appropriate cooperation and with law enforcement agency. We develop processes to allow authority, either here or in Vietnam, and online services provider to respond rapidly. a more proactive approach by online service provider to address online hate speech is very, very important. And recently you see decisions made by Facebook or made by Twitter. They have tried to combat hate speech like us. But our job, ladies and gentlemen, our job is to be their eyes and ears. We need to understand their process. We need to document all the violations, and we need to notify them and enforce them to comply with what they have agreed to. In conclusion, I would like to bring up 5 recommendations in the letter Dr. Thắng and many sign-on organizations will present to President Biden when he will host the U.S. Asian Summit that have been planned for March of this year. And it is also our AFJV goal to advocate. Number 1, we recommend to maintain a database of reported incidents of hate speech and ask the Vietnamese government to explain it, to provide a resolution for each incident. We help identify and assess impacts of hate speech on religious community like yourself that target by the government of Vietnam. And we use social media provider as a tool to take down, to help us to take down hate messages that we compile in the database that I mentioned earlier. And we work with United Human Rights Committee to monitor Vietnam compliance with the Article 18 and 20. And last but not least, we will include hate speech as part of the State Department annual report on human rights and on international religious freedom, as well as its decision to designate Vietnam as a country of particular concern. Thank you for listening and good luck in the fight to keep your faith.
Xin cảm ơn tiến sĩ Phan Quang Trọng.